Hello and welcome back to the Impression Wiz channel. I'm your host, the Impression Wiz, and today I'm going to return to sorting characters, but this time I'm going to do the Undertale characters, and not all of them, but certain main characters from the Undertale series. Like the main bosses of certain cases and major story pushers, if that makes sense. And yes, of both the genocide and pacifist route, if you think about it. I'm going to sort each and every one of the characters into the houses they belong into. And I'm going to save the two main characters, let's say, Frisk and Kara till the very end because of reasons. So I'm going to start off with Toriel, sorting off. And where I'm going to put her is... she's kind of a tricky one. I'm going to put her Hufflepuff, though, I think. Because she's very caring and nurturing. Not that any of the other houses couldn't be, but... She deals a lot with, like, food and baking and whatnot, so that kind of makes sense to me. Okay. And I'm going to do it in the order of kind of certain importance. The next one I'm going to do is the Great Papyrus. And for Papyrus, I am going to put him in Hufflepuff as well. But he does have Gryffindor tendencies. But he's the naive kind of goofball guy that you can't really deny in certain cases. He's the lovable oaf, and he gives me a Hufflepuff vibe, but with some Gryffindor because he's brave and whatnot. But he's not really about... yes, he says he wants to fight, but he's not a fighter. He's more of a wanting to be friends person. You can tell in the pacifist route that's how he really is. And even in the genocide route, he's the same way. Now moving on to Undyne. This is a no-brainer. She's a Gryffindor through and through. I don't really think I have a whole lot to explain there except for, fight me! Fight me! It's just, she's the Gryffindor of everybody. Moving further along, we get to, and I'm doing this all off of the top of my head, so if I'm messing up certain orders, I apologize. But the next one is Alphys. Alphys is pretty much the Ravenclaw, exactly like how Undyne is specifically the gigantic not Ravenclaw, Gryffindor. Little Alpheus is Ravenclaw through and through, with maybe a few tendencies in Hufflepuff, but mostly Ravenclaw. Because all the information and all that. After that is Metaton. I'm gonna go with Gryffindor again, but with a little bit of Ravenclaw tendencies, if that makes sense. Because Gryffindor, mainly because if you look at it, technically he, I am so sorry about that one. He is cousins with Napstablook, and Napstablook is kind of the scaredy cat. And it takes a lot of bravery for a ghost that would be similar to that, I would think, to go into a metal body and get a lot of bravery doing that. So Gryffindor, mostly. But a little bit of Ravenclaw because of the robotic things and the technical babble that can go in there. And now we come to one of my favorite characters other than Papyrus, Sans. And Sans, he is a tough one. Because I can see him fitting into 3 specific houses pretty well. Gryffindor, if you go by the genocide route alone, because he's facing the strongest thing in the underground, just to protect everyone and protect what was left, and judgment. But I could also see him being Slytherin because of the same reasons. Not necessarily for protecting, but more avenging and trying to outwit the player character in this case, Kara, however it goes. But then there's a little bit of the Ravenclaw. Now, I'm not seeing Hufflepuff because technically, yes, he is a lazy thing, but I don't think he's lazy because he's just to be lazy. I think he's lazy because he's too worried about all the timelines. And Ravenclaw, his knowledge of all these different timelines and whatnot and resets, because he knows about them, you know that. I just feel that that fits more to Ravenclaw. But to specifically put him into a specific house, I'm going to go with Slytherin, mainly because he's witty enough to try and defeat the ultimate destroyer of the world with only his wit and his because he is a smart one book-wise, but he's also pretty savvy with knowing speed and his abilities. So I'm going to put him Slytherin. And if that feels wrong to you guys, please tell me in the comments. But next we have Asgore. Hold on. I'll need to remember to edit that out. But next we have Asgore, King of the Underground, and I'm going to put him fairly comfortably as a Gryffindor, but maybe a little bit tendency of Slytherin, if that makes sense, because he is a brave guy, but he's also trying to save his people by taking on certain burdens that they shouldn't be. But he's not necessarily the brightest, because he was wanting to kind of dominate the overground, but for good reasons. Because he's seen what has happened to the underground and all that, and he doesn't want that to continue, if that makes sense. So I'm putting him as Gryffindor, because he's not wanting to be the bad guy, but he's doing what he feels is right. And for Flowey, the last one that's a monster in this case, I'm going to put Flowey probably Slytherin as well, because he's also very witty, and yes, I know Slytherins are not always the bad guy, and I'm not trying to always do that either. But he is kind of a witty guy and kind of he's done it over and over several times, and he's kind of just lost a lot of things, but he's I put him as Slytherin. And Asriel, I'm going to probably put as Gryffindor. I'm putting them together because they're technically the same person, but it under different circumstances. Flowey is a Slytherin, mainly because of certain circumstances and him being in a kind of a darker place, but I'm putting Asriel in Gryffindor because he's very. Both can be very brave and whatnot, but Slytherins are kind of more on the witty side, where Gryffindors are just the right out bold braveness that there is. If that makes sense. And now the last two, Frisk and Kara. Or Kara, or however it's pronounced. I don't really care. Those that correct me in the comments, just take it as that I'm not even going to respond to you except for this sentence. It doesn't matter. Anyway, where I'm going to put them is pretty disparaging, similarly to how I did Flowey and Asriel. Frisk, I'm going to put in Gryffindor because of how brave they are to go through the whole underground just to try and do what they do, and in the end save all the monsters that a lot of the time were probably trying to kill them, whereas Kara is Slytherin, but not just Slytherin. I would say that Kara would end up being a Death Eater in this case as well, because Kara's goals are actually kind of similar to that of Voldemort's, but not in the same way. Like, Voldemort's trying to rule over everything. Kara's just trying to destroy everything. And I'm going to put them Slytherin, possibly even into like a Death Eater possible thing. So, but as a recap, I'm just going to go ahead and show where I put everyone for houses. Gryffindor is up there. Or Gryffindor's over there, my bad. Ravenclaw's up there. Hufflepuff is right down here. And Slytherin will be right here somewhere. I can't remember all the ones and whatnot right now, but editing me will be able to put them in where they need to be. But that's where I think they all belong, if that makes sense. I might just put their names, but I don't know. But that's where I think they belong. If you have different opinions, please put them down in the comments below. And if you want to see more of these, like maybe other characters that I didn't do for Undertale this time around, I'll do next time around. And I'll probably get to the Homestuck Trolls as well at some point. But if there's any other series, like maybe FNAF or maybe Nintendo or something like that, of what you want, or what my opinions would be for some of these characters, though, of where they would be. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please put a like on the video, and if you want to see more, please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss anything I upload. And as always, I will see you Wednesday.